Hey, everybody, we're live. Oh, man, I am just getting over a head cold that seems to be lasting forever. Um, and my brother is joining me here today. We are live. I'm Adam Zembruski with Hospiamo, and my brother just texted me saying, "Hey, what's the link?" You know, that's what happens um, when we try to make things happen live, and we're not perfect. But that's not the goal. The goal is what? Well, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. He just said, "Never mind, I see it." Or he said, "New Mexico, I see it." NM. Trying something new on Instagram today. It says that we are uh, going live on Instagram, and that I need to mute that site. So hopefully we don't hear an echo. Hey, there's my bro.
Echo, echo, echo.
Did you just say that 6 times or 3?
Exactly.
Hey, bro.
Hey, good to see you, bro. How you doing?
Man, I'm okay. I'm getting over this 4-week-long head cold thing that's happening. Jeez, it's weird. But I do not complain on. I don't complain live anyway. You know, when I'm being recorded later on or not recorded, I'll complain then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
So
we
did you do a good countdown? I missed the countdown if you did it because I was like, oh,
did
man.
the same one as last week. Here we go. Hey, we're live.
You gotta put that one up for sale. That one's gonna like go viral.
I had fun with that one. I like the I think we were talking about it last week, but I like the kind of creepy laughter.
Exactly.
It's like, what are you laughing at?
It's like a creepy,
There-
birthday card.
You know what we should do is back in what 30 plus years ago, you and I were at the Quorum
Yeah.
live, motivational speaking type stuff, and um, network marketing, and they used to have the Terminator movie.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. And I was
I
like, man, I hope to be a speaker someday and be able to do something like that. But then, we get older, and I'm like, I don't really feel like walking up and down the stage, and like.
I'm ready to go out to that music. I remember I was so impressed by the music. I went back. I think I bought the CD when I got home.
Yeah, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
boom, like just yeah.
it's the upbeat Terminator stuff. I'm glad you brought it up again. Maybe I'll put that on my Spotify playlist next time I'm getting pumped up.
Yeah, we should. Hey, so we're going to do a somewhat of a quick one here today. I'm going to put on the comments here because last week I noticed that we did have some comments that I ignored, but I'll open those up to take a look at them. So, bro, we are worlds colliding with Agile and Scrum and hospitality and hotel management. I was reminded of a research project. So I have too much, but a ton of research, like real research material over the past three years that was developed to go into the Hospiamo and the hospitality industry impact initiative business plans.
Yep.
And they're all there, but man, I got some pretty cool facts and figures, and I did one research project that was actually a lot of fun that I presented at a Chamber of Commerce gathering called Vision North Carolina, hosted by the Watauga County, or sorry, the Boone area Chamber of Commerce, and they had like 7 or 8 different chambers of commerces or chamber of commerces, all went up to the northwestern part of North Carolina, that is where all, beautiful mountains, a ton of employment opportunities, a ton of hospitality jobs,
Yep.
but not a lot of year-round population, right? And
Right.
so there are areas around the country that are dealing with some affordable housing, not some, but significant
Yep.
housing issues. And that area is a beautiful place to be. And so we're going to talk about Marriott. We're going to talk about hospitality. We're going to talk about Agile. We're going to talk about engagement. And overall, what the research, I used a couple memberships that I joined in order to get the research done. And you might remember this around the time, but it was the Great Places to Work
Yeah.
website
Yep.
or organization. Wonderful organization. And they are the ones that have all the surveys. I would say they're probably the Marriott or the Kleenex of employee engagement and satisfaction and great places to work, because Fortune magazine, that's who they partner with in order to get all that done. And I would say Fortune and Forbes, maybe. They have all those lists that come out every month, every quarter, and every year of the best places to work. So I am setting it up a little bit. So I used to work for Marriott, and I've worked for many third-party hotel management companies, a lot of restaurants, owners, operators, managers. And I mean, I found fun and I found engagement in every job I've ever had. But maybe it's the hypothesis, but the research project that I had was specific to Northwestern North Carolina, but also North Carolina in general. But it grew to be national in scope. And
Nice.
the question was, it's not really a question, but what hotel companies are on the top 100 best places to work in the United States? And those hotel companies are Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, Four Seasons. I'm sorry, hospitality companies.
Yep.
And forgive me if there's um, I'll name the other one in just a minute. But the Marriott and Hilton in particular are sustained over the past 20 years in the top 10, top 5, top 50,
Wow.
like every single year. And so me, coming from a third-party hotel management, a franchisee perspective, we've got great team members, we've got great owners, we've got great operators.
Yep.
Why are they not on there? And sure, they don't apply. They don't.
Yep.
These companies that no one's really in the United States have ever really heard of. But these are the companies that are employing like 75% of the people out there. And so I'm going to share the infographic of the research that I did,
Yeah, please.
that I presented, and I have like pages and pages of detail. But the I'm opening it up here. I'm going to share it on the screen. The I put it together for my friends at the Boone Chamber of Commerce, because they were so generous to allow me to speak at this event and present it. And we had a great conversation. And I was on the panel, and they have this every single year, and it's so beautiful because it's not just like one chamber of commerce.
Yep.
What makes Boone, in my opinion, so special is that they're able to gather and collaborate with multiple groups.
Yep.
And when they invite somebody to an area, people come. And it's just really cool. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and tell you about some of those findings. And then I want to ask you, well, one, I will say that the major finding is the fact that this spurred another research project, which was 25 years ago when I first started in the industry. I was bright-eyed, and I was highly engaged, and all
Yeah.
the people that I talked with were highly engaged. Um, but back then, Marriott, great employer, right? I was working for them during that time, and some other companies. Uh, but at that time, what the findings were was that a significant portion of the employees at the property level at hotels, at
Mhm.
Marriott hotels, were employed by Marriott. Well, that was in the late 90s. Well, what has happened since then? Franchising.
Yeah.
They went what's called asset light. They sold off their real estate, and it's all fine. I mean, there's
Yeah.
negatives here. They sold off the real estate, and they became more of a brand. And franchisees flooded the market. They opened up the gates for independent real estate investors and real estate owners to purchase the hotels, and then franchise the name Marriott and Courtyard and Spring Hill Suites, and now they have 30 plus brands. Um, Now all these people, 95% of the people that work at the property level are all working for independent hotel companies,
Right.
right?
So where does that factor in, right? Because now these are separate companies. This is not Marriott anymore. It's a Marriott
Ah,
flag, right? But it's not. You're not a Marriott employee, right?
you're not a Marriott employee, and that's really important. They have standards, and they have some of the best standards in the entire world. They pretty much wrote the book on SOPs for hospitality.
So is that what
And
you took out in your research then to say, because there's probably some I'm sure there's some that are really fantastic about what they do, but they don't show up on the list anywhere because maybe they only employ 1,000 people or something.
yeah, so they're based in Bethesda, Maryland. Okay. Hilton is based in McLean, Virginia. Choice Hotels is based in Bethesda, also in Maryland. So that's kind of like the DC, greater DC area has become like a hospitality center, but to work at the corporate office,
Yeah.
right? They're not the employees at the property level where people like you and people from around the world
Yeah.
interact with. So
Exactly.
um, the that is or was the answer of what's happening here in the and I'm sorry, let me figure out a way if I can.
I
I
can
think
see it.
can you see it to our millions of fans? I'm not sure if they can
Might be a little small for the millions of fans, but you can also attach it when we're done. You can attach this graphic if you want to the or
I
you know
will. And I'll
everybody
also
can see it.
share my screen here too. So let's see if that is a little bit better. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So the question was, all right, so what we found was that in 1997, uh, management engagement in the hotel industry was at the highest, and it was like 41%.
Yep.
So, are you engaged? Are you disengaged? Or are you actively disengaged? We've talked about that on the show here, those
Yep.
three different buckets.
Yep.
The actively disengaged are not their fault, but they're
Yep.
poisonous. They're bringing down.
Running out the door. Yep.
Yeah. And the disengaged are the ones that are just going through the motions, and they could easily be offered like a couple more dollars an hour, or X amount of percentage more in salary to be brought on to another company.
Yep.
But the engaged are the ones that are like, "Hey, can I talk you into taking another job somewhere?" Be like, "No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I
Exactly.
got guests to take care of. I got my team. I'm
Yep.
highly engaged. I'm doing my job." So it was at 41. Our study showed we are at currently still for the last year 7%.
Wow. Big
7. So
difference.
if you
Big
think
difference.
about that, the what that means to the everyday traveler,
Yep.
those are the people at the property level. Now, uh, a big the reason why I bring up Marriott is that I am a former employee of Marriott, right? So I can speak to what it's like to work for them.
Yep.
And this study that we did was you've always said and added as a compliment to me that I've had an agile or growth mindset over the
Yeah.
years, and I didn't even know what to call it, but yeah. And I would say when I work with people that are highly engaged, which Marriott, as part of the study, showed that they have a high engagement. Those are the ones that have an agile mindset. They're the ones that have a growth mindset. They're the ones that are saying like, "Hey, what's the problem? Let's go solve it. Let's
Yeah.
go let's
Exactly.
go get 4 or 5 people together and solve it, and then move on to the next one." Right? There's not a lot of talk around about like, "Hey, what meeting should you sign up for next week to go talk on stage about something that you are saying that you're good
Yeah.
at?" They just do it, right? And so I've learned about a lot of that from you. So some of the questions were: what do workers want today? What will workers want tomorrow? Are places and communities and states at risk? And so we did a survey, or we analyzed the data of 323 great places to work, and what we found was that you actually, for this study for great places to work, and please, great organization, and they also have a book out there, um, great places to work. And so all of this data came from them, and also a lot of the interviews that we had throughout our that we did privately through Hospiamo, but mainly it was through great places to work. um, and so you could become certified. So if you're a company, and I think as long as you have at least 10 employees,
Yep.
you could be a small company. And then if you have, I think, more than 50, you could be a medium size. And then it's like more than that, more than 200 or so, you're a large company. So you become certified, but that doesn't mean you become on the list. So something that really has always bothered me, bro, and it probably bothers a lot of people, is that there are so many lists out there. And I will tell you specifically about the hotel industry,
Yep.
that it's a pay to play or a pay to be on the
Yep.
list.
Yep.
So if you are a subscriber to our magazine, we will add you to the list of people that can even apply to be a large employer or a top employer.
Yep.
And if you type in top hotel management companies, and again, I'll preempt this by saying I've worked for many of the best, right? And I've
Yep.
loved them and enjoyed them. But when you type in top hotel management companies, you're going to find a lot of lists, all
Yep.
right, from different magazines, different websites. And what you will find is that they're the largest.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So
like advertising. You pay for it and you get
they
your name in the list.
top, yeah. And they're all tracked by the number of properties that they have, the number of employees. Good for them, you know.
Yep.
But top is large and size. It didn't go into these don't go into as granular as it is what it's like to work there,
Yeah.
because they don't even apply to this, and I really think that they should,
Yeah.
because these are consistent surveys that go back and forth. And so I did some focus on North Carolina, found that that there are 50 certified great places to work in North Carolina. Um, and this was the coolest part of it here, bro. I'm gonna scroll down to our right here. So this was is pretty clear, regardless of what state or what type of employer you had. But what drives the employees to feel like it's a great place to work?
Yep.
So the top 5 drivers, and analysis of the 60 question survey completed by the 323 subject companies. I did some intense. You should see the spreadsheet. You'd be very proud.
Yeah.
I did a lot of analysis on this. So number one, 80. So what this number is, 82% of the people that said this is a great place to work, this was the number one question. And it was, I was made to feel welcome upon joining.
Mm.
82% of the ones that said, I love working at this company, they said this was one of their top 5.
Yeah. Wow.
And so the other ones are: management is honest and ethical in business practices. I'm proud to, this is huge. I'm proud to tell others I work here.
Yep.
People are given a lot of responsibility, and I feel good about how we contribute to the community.
Mm.
These are so very specific, bro. And I wanted to, I'll give it up to you now and ask you some of your opinions. But the, the 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 proud to tell others that I work here. Oh, I have been obsessive about that topic, and we've talked a lot about it here.
Yep.
And that you go back to 30 years ago when I started in the hotel business, I was working for Foxwoods.
Yep.
Right? I was so proud to say I was working at Foxwoods, and then when they opened up the hotel, everybody wanted to know, like, "Hey, how's it going at Foxwoods? That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. You're working there," and I got to be a manager. And then I started working for Marriott and Hard Rock Cafe.
Yeah.
I
Huge.
told the world who I was working for. And then I started working for third-party management companies and hotel companies that no one's ever heard of before. And
Yep.
so it wasn't that I wasn't proud to work there. Just if I said I worked for Interstate Hotels, I was really proud, but no one knew what the heck I was talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I would not have been able to say that I was proud to tell others I worked there because they don't know the name.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm working at a Marriott hotel, but
Yep.
I'm not working for Marriott. I'm working for
Right.
a third-party hotel management company,
Yeah.
right?
It's complicated.
It's complicated, and it always it was layered, right? So it was like an
Yeah.
extra layer of something that I would have to explain. And so I've written not as a way to you know be negative, but I've written several articles about the commoditization of the industry because of franchising and things like that.
Yep.
And it doesn't need to be like that because there are some amazing companies like Interstate. It was the
Yep.
first. Interstate was eventually merged with a much larger company, but Interstate, man, at that time they were based in Pittsburgh. I was working in Orlando. I was highly engaged with the because I had a general manager that was allowing me that saw something in me. He sent me up to Pittsburgh for a couple meetings about training and like
Yep.
beta testing stuff, and
Yep.
so I was highly engaged, and but it's been that's few and far between. So all that being said, bro, I think that between us, your world, my world, we have had such a diverse experience, and we talk about it a lot. And I think that so you're working, you're doing agile transformations for many years, and like very large companies, not for Marriott, but Marriott's a very large company.
Yeah.
I'm curious about these companies are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to go agile.
Yep.
Now, I can imagine uh, how it must make you feel, or maybe the others feel when there's a company out there that says like, "Oh, we've been going agile for years. We went
Yep.
agile 3 years ago." Bro, I'm telling you, a lot of those companies that I've really enjoyed working for, they even say that they've gone agile,
Yep.
but Uh, have they?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no
Exactly.
real proof. I mean, it's a mindset, but there's some things that I've worked for them, and I'm like, they're not agile.
Yeah.
They don't even talk about it. Maybe there's an individual, maybe an owner or something like
Yep.
that that's very got a very strong agile mindset. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean, going agile is becoming a bit of like
It doesn't really say anything anymore, right? Because everybody's either agile or there's a book I have on the bookshelf, The Age of Agile, right here. And this guy Stephen Denning wrote like a whole bunch of he's researched you'd like this author because he's researched a lot of industries, including agile. He's written a lot of books. He keeps writing good books about industries, and he's a
Denning.
researcher,
Nice.
journalist, researcher, Stephen Denning. But in this book, he says, this book was probably written 10 years ago. He says, as a company today, you're either going agile or you're going to die. Like literally,
Mm.
everybody needs to go agile because it's just a new word, bro, for the industry. Like when I graduated 30 years ago from college, it was total quality management, right? And then for manufacturing companies, they still talk today about lean manufacturing. How do you get the waste out of the process, right? And agile is very similar. It's such a broad word. It can mean so many things. And about 10 or so years ago, it became the word that if you weren't doing it and your board of directors came in or board of advisors came in and said, hey, you guys are doing agile, right? You guys are agile transforming, right? You guys are, doing stuff. The leadership in all these companies needed to say yes. And if they said no, they needed to have a really good reason. Oh, we're going to be hiring people to come in and do that in the next 2 years. We're on it, right? So pretty much everybody is, as you're saying, giving at least lip service to agile. Nobody's saying we're definitely not doing agile, because that means you have more of, in general terms, you have more of a fixed mindset. We're going to keep doing business the way we've been doing it, right? So, and again, agile is a broad term. In the software industry, the pace of change looks differently than in the manufacturing industry, right? In the manufacturing industry, there's not as much change happening to what you're producing each week or each month or whatever. But you need to be really good about lean manufacturing, and there's other books and things in that. So, to your point, there's a lot of the confusion in the marketplace, because saying agile now 20 years ago meant something. Now it doesn't mean much anymore, because it's like we're all swimming in the same pool. But to your point, the only people who really know how effective or how agile a company is, how successful, to take the agile word out of it, how I don't know, strong is a company in their ability to adapt to new changes coming at them. The only way to know that is if you're in the company and you're an agile subject matter expert like myself, who's been around for 20 plus years in the industry, or if you really understand the company well. So people don't, there's no real easy way, but I'll tell you, the universe, the world will throw change at you, and the pace of change, this is where, you look at technology, there's this thing called Moore's Law. Like every 18 months, the computer chips and all technology stuff gets twice as fast and twice as small. So when you think about that, 18 months, so like, the computer chip, and it's been going for 40 years or something, bro. It's a long time, maybe 50 years. The guy wrote that law.
It's smaller and faster.
In 18 months, it gets twice as small and twice as fast. So like you got a computer chip in your cell phone, and maybe it's like this big. Well, in 18 months, that same computer chip is going to go twice as fast, and it's going to be half as big.
And it's been doing that for 40 years.
And it keeps going. So imagine things get smaller, faster, smaller, faster. That's how technology moves. But there's a lot of other change that hits the that hits all companies, and COVID is one of them. COVID's a massive change introduced to the system. So that was like a litmus test. How agile is the company? Well, if you survived or maybe grew during COVID, then you're agile enough, right? And I saw some companies, tens of thousands of employees, where they're like, all right, we've already done agile transformation. We know how to adapt to things. COVID hit, and that Friday, March 13th, 2020, they were like, all right, let's have an emergency meeting with all the leaders. We got to get laptops out to 95% of our workforce. How are we going to do this? How many do we already have in stock? Oh, we already have several thousand in stock. Good. Like literally in 10 days, they went from like 5%. Some of these companies went from 5% remote workers to 99% remote workers. And then they just didn't miss a beat and kept growing. That's the exception. Most companies got hit, and they're like knocked down in the first round. They're like, we can't get back up. Right.
Yeah. And meanwhile, during that time, I still am, but independent, dealing with multiple different companies. And some of them were like that. They were like, no, we're good. I think that, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. This is what we're doing. And in hotels, it was all about managing that change from a centralized location. Even though you might be in 7 or 8 different states with employees and all those different places, different agreements, different management companies, different brands, different franchises. And but some of them were the opposite. And here's where the willingness to say this is a huge change and we are not prepared for it.
Yep.
I think that there might be three buckets. There's the bucket of the ones that are they've been preparing,
Yep.
even though they might not want to call it agile, but they're highly engaged workforce, right?
Yep.
And preparing for technologies and very quick to make decisions, right?
Yep.
Very adaptive. And then there's the ones that were not prepared, that just fought and fought and fought and went forward and admitted, like, holy crap, this is a major piece of change. So maybe they got together as a family or a corporate office and like, hey, let's brainstorm this. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to move forward until we are able to move forward together. And then there is the deniers, the ones that I really do think a lot of groups are in denial in that. And those are the I would say the same ones that think and talk about being adaptive
Yep.
and being able to handle change, and they've been saying it for so many years.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name any names, but there's a lot of people that I still work with that struggle with this, and
Yep.
people that I used to work with that were they had been saying for years that, like, no, we're adaptive, we make quick decisions, and
Yep.
but then COVID hit or something major change hit, and they were crushed. They weren't even able to answer their phones
Yeah. So
because
COVID
they
took out the truth, right? That's the thing, is how do you get to
yeah
the truth? Because we're talking about, you can say one thing, do another. You can really be agile and adaptive. You can say you have highly engaged workforce, but you don't because you're a private company. There's a million different things, right? So how do
yeah
you get to the truth? And I think one of the ways to find out the truth is see how the company actually responds to change, right?
yeah
Like a thing
yeah
like
you got
COVID.
to see.
Like what happened if the company went up or stayed the same through COVID? You know, that's a good thing. So why did they do that? And then get into it and say, like, all right, well, talk to some people on the inside. How do you pivot off an unexpected thing? Like no one knew March 13th that was going to happen, right? Very,
Yeah.
very, very few people knew. So whether you're prepared or not. So how do you get a massive change like that? Like, what do you do? What happened internally? You know what I
I
mean?
think the something that the hotel industry, I don't know this, but I imagine, you and I were talking with somebody and we're engaged through you, some people that have been interviewing with Marriott, right?
Yeah.
And they said, they're call it agile or lean or TQM, whatever the term is, but
Yeah.
they've been working on these things for a while. And I think and know that they have, larger type companies. They've been working on this, and way before COVID, right? I've heard them
Yep.
talk about it, and a lot of times it's with architecture and design. A lot of times it's with reservation systems and revenue management systems and software, like you
Yep.
said, faster and smaller, and good. It's it can cost upfront in order, and sometimes it can cost cost somebody some ego,
Yep.
right? For a CEO or someone to say, this is the direction that we're going. I'm not really sure if I am fully aware of
Yeah.
what tomorrow is going to look like, but I
Yeah.
need this team, and and those are the ones that people follow. But back to the original comment about this research that we did about third-party hotel management companies. I've also researched many of them, and they don't even know it. They're already agile. They're
Yeah.
already, I'll mention one of them because he's been welcome on our show. Mark Alvarez. He works for
Yep.
a company that has recently, forget about COVID. That's years ago now, but
Yep.
they merged, with another company, went through a significant amount of change, and Mark was talking about that on our show. And so
Yep.
I think that there's companies that are, maybe it's the fourth bucket. There's companies that are going through these type of things, but they just don't even know what to call it yet. But
Yeah.
they're working through the unknown. They're coming out of it much better, better for it. And then you don't really need to name it. You know what I mean? It's like
No,
keep on moving forward.
but
Excuse me. But I think the reason why I started this off with Marriott is that 1927 was when they got started with A&W root beer stands, and then they got into food and beverage, and they were the first company to supply food for on airlines. I don't know if you knew that. Airline food was
that's
Marriott,
cool.
and innovate, 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 and then the first hotel opened up in 1957. So in a few years they're going to go through their 100th anniversary, and I've got so much respect and love, like sincere love for that company. I'm not saying that they're the only innovator in the industry. There's many
Yep.
others, but they're the ones that when I went through my training, they drilled into me these statistics so that I'm able to rip them off for you right now. 1927, A&W root beer stand, the oatmeal story, which I told you about, we talked about, right?
Yep.
It's about culture, and so I think that is the way that they have been. What is it Zig Ziglar said? He goes, you gotta be before you can do, and you gotta do before you can have.
Yeah.
Is
Yep.
that right?
Yep.
And so I think that is a overarching commentary around what you and I have been talking about for so many weeks, and that is if you are acting in a certain way
Yep.
and you're being that, you can actually do that for an entire company.
Yep.
But you as an individual have the responsibility and the care to act in that way. And when somebody doesn't act in that way or doesn't believe in that mindset, they can work for a company that has that mindset, mostly with the people, the individuals that most of them think in that way,
Hmm.
but they're not going to last unless they adapt themselves.
Yep.
That's
And to,
what this research showed, right? You can be at the top, but you got to protect that culture. You got
yeah.
to retain the people that have that attitude,
And that's important.
because you never know what's going to come out
Yeah, and
tomorrow.
that's why I think to get to the truth, you can look at things like on the outside of the company. Well, the company did well or grew through COVID or whatever. You can sort of take some guesses, but I think to get to the real truth, bro, something that's really important to both of us is you talk to the people, and that's the intention of this Great Places to Work. To bring it back to that, is to have a true representation of what companies are the people who work there the
Yeah,
most happy with. What companies do the people like the culture? They like their work. They like their coworkers, right? They like the whole vibe. You're talking about culture. Culture is something that you don't put on a resume. You can try to put words to it, but it's like being on the first date. There's that extra factor that you can't see, but human to human, you know. So that's the thing where cultural fit is so important, and getting the right people to be in a company that match the culture. Because like you can
mm,
analyze cultures, 9 ways to Sunday too. But some cultures fit certain people and they don't fit other people. Doesn't mean you're good or bad people or good or bad culture. It's
yep,
just you're not a fit. So what you're talking about is is I believe to get to the truth of all this, you have to have feedback from
yeah,
people and just understand, like, there's this concept called NPS, Net Promoter Score, which you might
yep.
have heard about. And it's out there in the industry for companies and products and things like that. But the bottom line is, like, would you recommend this company to work somewhere else? Sort of like, I'm proud to work for this company. That
Sure.
statement that was in there that you shared a minute ago. It's the
Yep.
same thing. Like, would you recommend uh, working at this company to one of your good friends? Right? Like, if they say yes to that, it's like, well, obviously they like it. They like their friend, and if they like their company enough to recommend their friend works there with them, that says something, right? So there's
On the
little
next, maybe on our next episode, we can talk about the experiences that we've had or other people that, like, if I'm working at ABC company and I go out there and recruit my friend or someone that I know and I like and respect, and they say, well, you're working there, you're trying to recruit me to come on board, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here,
yeah,
right? I'm loyal to I've done this before where
Yep.
I'm loyal to myself and I'm like, I want to go recruit my friend and someone that I know and trust,
Yep.
and I bring that person on, and too many times I end up leaving.
Yeah.
And that person is left with this bag of whatever culture that exists as the reason that I left or possibly got fired from, right? And
Yeah.
so because I was not a good fit. Well, I am the same person. I've changed, but I'm a decent person, but
Yeah.
why am I a great fit at one company on Tuesday and then I get fired and I start working at another company? It's just automatically an amazing experience where I'm lifting everything up and doing really well and I'm
Yeah.
happy and everyone. So the cultural fit, there's a lot of responsibility on the individual's perspective in order um, to answer that question of what you
Yeah.
just said. Are you willing to refer someone to work for that company,
Yeah.
even if you were gone tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of people ask, and I think that those are some of the questions I've been asking. Because then the question is, okay, if you left tomorrow, why is this a good fit for your brother or your friend or
Yeah.
colleague that you're recruiting them in? Well, they have this, they have this, they have that, and you're going to be fine. You're part of this engine of culture now.
Yeah.
Um, and those are the ones in that first bucket that have been working on this stuff for so many years, rather than just saying on their website that this is our culture and this is why you should work for us because we're whatever, right? That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a plug here. So because we're um, always been working together, but Agile Game Changers, if you want to reach out to Matt, especially if you're in my industry in hotels and hospitality. Matt and I work together. We have a strategic partnership. We're doing some really cool stuff together, and also with our 501c3 nonprofit, the Hospitality Industry Impact Initiative is our education and youth engagement arm, which we're really excited about. So a lot of it has to do with this mindset that we're currently calling agile, that has had many names, but might be called something else, next year. But if this stuff speaks to you and you're listening to this and watching it, please just reach out to us. Reach out to Matt at agilegamechangers.com, Adam at hospiamo.com. We are entrepreneurs and we have many other email addresses as a result. But hey, if you watch this, you can also text us too because you probably already have our cell phone numbers. So,
Yep.
bro, we can finish up here. I know you got a bunch of other stuff going on. Anything else that you wanted to say?
I just want to say one last thing to anybody watching or catching this on the replay. This is the beginning of 2024. A lot of things are moving fast. We talked about speed of industry, speed of change, and you talked about being an individual and representing yourself, right? Being selfish to yourself. You got to put your needs, your family needs, your health first. It's really important for everybody. If you want to go farther in your career and go faster in your career, dedicate yourself to continuous learning and whatever, like what I mean is listening to audiobooks, good material, things like that. You can obviously have movie nights and watch Netflix and stuff like that. I don't mean 100% of your time, but whatever you were planning to do in 2024, I would challenge you to double it or triple it. If you're going to do 10 audiobooks this year, make it 20 or 30. Because seriously, things are
Nice.
moving fast. And the faster you can learn and assimilate the information and start to practice it to see what works for you and doesn't work for you, and then just keep moving down that path and network with these people who are writing the books and all this stuff too. The faster you do that, the faster you're going to move, because a lot of things are moving very quick. I've gotten a lot of signs and
Yeah.
from a lot of people lately, and it's just the beginning of 2024. But things are moving fast, so that's my plug on the soapbox to say, hey, double, triple down, quadruple down the amount of learning and applying that you're going to do to yourself, your career, to the things that matter to you. Do it now in January, because in December, you're going to be light years ahead of everybody else. Because most people are not doing it. So that's my plug.
That's awesome. Let's leave it at that because that's huge. It's absolutely huge. And I would caution people not to think of what Matt just said and make it a company goal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we were thinking about adding 10 hotels to our portfolio next year.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do 40. And this is, no, that's not what Matt was just saying. So if you have any questions about that, what Matt is saying is about being individual and it's okay to be selfish, but if you were thinking about learning something, here's a great example, bro, and we can leave it at that if you want. Last year, I said, I wanted to concentrate on being consistent and trying new things, and I think I did a good job at that, and it was been lovely. And then this year, I've been trying to figure it out, but I want to continue to document this journey because probably the most of the feedback that I've received from my friends and colleagues and stuff is that they actually are a bit inspired watching me fumble my way through stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Nice.
and so I'm going to continue documenting, but we're documenting once a week,
Yeah.
you and I on live. And so if I were to take your advice, I'm going to multiply that by 4 or 5. So that means I've been getting to work on documenting 5 times more than what I was even thinking about doing for the rest of this year. And it's
Yep.
not a company goal. I'm not going to like go out there and do it, but there are things that we can do to move forward in our life and career, and also to help others build their own life and career and network exponentially. So I'm a little bit sensitive to how people say like, yeah, I'm inspired. I'm going to go create higher and bigger goals for our company. And it's like, it's about the steps that you can take individually. It's about you.
Yeah,
And I love what you just said. And I think that's a great theme for the rest of the year. Faster. And also what you just said about the 2 times faster and twice as or half the size every 18 months with technology. We can do the same.
Exactly. We can do the same with
Now,
ourselves.
I do need to reduce my size a little bit, and that's
There you go.
that's a whole nother goal.
18 months, half your size, twice the speed.
That sounds good to me, man. Yeah. Okay, bro. Good stuff.
All right. Good talk.
We'll keep on moving forward. I love you, and I love everybody. We'll talk to you all soon.
Love you too.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.